In our news bulletin for this evening, Niue's meteorological services will be enhanced with the installation of infrastructure for tsunami and sea level monitoring systems at the wharf. An introductory workshop for the Bridge to Reef concept held this week as a basis to formulate Niue's project to conserve natural resources and biodiversity. Differences of opinions arise in the women's cricket following a decision for Tuapa to progress on to the finals. Niue's team at the 20th Commonwealth Games campaign comes close to an end with 3 more days to go. Niue Meteorological Services will be enhanced with the installation of infrastructure for tsunami and sea level monitoring systems that has started this week. The Australian-funded project is a collaboration between the Niue Meteorology Office, the Australian Bureau of Meteorology and Geoscience Australia. Niue Met Service Manager Sionitasi Pulhetoa says that after 17 years of lobbying, he is pleased that they finally have equipment to help improve the meteorological services with the capability to collect much-needed data. The new equipment is being installed at the wharf and is said to be state-of-the-art and a first.
This particular installation is the first of its kind in the world, where we incorporate radar technology with underwater pressure sensing as well. And what makes this one unique is the fact that we've actually got a global navigation satellite system mounted onto our platform, which is monitoring the position of the wharf with respect to a reference point, so that we can actually determine if the land is moving. If the land was sinking, say for example, it would look like the sea was coming up. So originally our project used to just measure the sea level, and so if we saw a sea level rise, what would happen is we don't know whether the island is sinking or whatever. So we're actually monitoring the land movement as well as the sea, so we can correlate those two data together and determine what the actual is happening.
The initial stages of the project has seen a fair amount of groundwork being done at the wharf area, with cutting into the concrete, drilling, power cabling, and this will also take a few months until it is all complete. There are a number of contingency plans in place to ensure that the services are still operational even when the power cuts out, with a web-based application that will make data accessible to all.
Well, what we're installing too is this is a new system as well, where we're going to provide a website that is available from the Australian mainland site, so which shows the data from this station in real time. What will also happen in the event of significant data communication outages between Niue and the rest of the world, so your internet network goes down, we're also building a system that will supply the data in real time to the Niuean government's network, and any stakeholders who want that data can also see it on a website from here.
The project is making steady progress and will be commissioned on the 22nd of October. An introductory workshop was held this week as part of the formulation phase to develop Niue's Bridge to Reef project. The Global Environment Fund project is estimated to be worth about $4 million that will be used over a course of 5 years through the United Nations Development Programme. Consultations held over the past 2 weeks will form the basis to apply the Bridge to Reef concept that is said to be a holistic and comprehensive approach for the protection and sustainable management of the island's natural resources or biodiversity. According to Philip Total, he says that the consultations have been helpful in identifying gaps in some of the existing projects and finding ways to enhance the protection of the island's biodiversity in light of recent developments.
A lot of the work will be done to maintain rather than to maybe re-establish. It's maintaining what there is good enough, but what we need to do is make sure that we avoid the threats which could arise, for example, from contamination of the groundwater, which is what Niue depends on for drinking and for everything. We need to make sure that Niue avoids the potential impact of tourism. Tourism numbers, it's a bit of a dilemma, because you want more tourists, because the economy can benefit from that. But at the same time, you don't want to ruin and spoil what the tourists are coming for at the same time. So it is more or less like a planning exercise. It's a setting aside and putting in place mechanisms to avoid some of these threats, to reduce the potential risk. I have met with members of 4 village councils out of the 14, and I really want to meet all 14, because all 14 have a stake in this. As we said, it's a comprehensive project, ridge to reef, or in fact in Niue it's reef to reef, because it goes over the top and comes down the other side. So yes, I really see the gap that there is so far in who I've seen and with whom I've met. So it will happen at that level.
A broad range of stakeholders have been approached to help formulate the basis for the nation. A broad range of stakeholders have been approached to help formulate the basis for the national project. Philip says that the activities within this project will deliver tangible results, with the ultimate result being the sustainability of natural resources, something that will be realized in the long term.
There are 2 major outcomes. One, in fact, is very much an outcome which will have on-the-ground activities and results, and it will take place very much at the community level, at the village council level. The other one is the upstream outcome, which deals with policy, regulation, the institutional side of things, including capacity building of, say, Department of Environment as well as DAF. It needs to be a mixture of both, because if you go along and start, forging ahead, spending money, doing things which are then without a foundation, you will not have the sustainability. And we want things to continue after the project finishes.
A national consultant has also been appointed to work on the project, and Mr. Tortel will return in September for further consultations with village councils to highlight what the project has to offer and what their needs are. If all goes according to plan, the final project document should be completed and the project implementation will begin next year. The Women's Kilikiki Council has returned with a decision that will see Tuapa face off with Alofi in the finals following a meeting held on Tuesday afternoon. Representatives from 8 of the village teams in the competition were present to discuss a dispute within Pool B game between Avasele and Tuapa and determine who would move on to the finals. Following some lengthy discussions and views shared, representatives from both Avasele and Tuapa teams were requested to leave the meeting, while the remaining council members went on to resolve the issue. It was decided that both teams were equal according to a tally-up of points, and they would put into the hat to be drawn out. Sources say that a Hakupu representative drew out the Tuapa block from the hat, and that would be the team to progress on to the finals. However, the Avasele women's team leaders are at odds with the final outcome and are questioning the process that was taken. Avasele team captain Becky Stawasi says that a decision had already been made by the committee president prior to the meeting, as was witnessed with documents distributed at the meeting already showing that Avasele had one loss, when in fact that was still disputed and was meant to be discussed at the meeting. Mrs. Dawasi also had reservations with the manner in which the decision was made, with no clear response received throughout the meeting, despite asking on several occasions why the tally results showed one loss to Avasele when they had won all their games up until last Saturday's game. But Niue Women's Cricket President Puako Fisi says that the decision was made based on the evidence and score sheets received that were signed by both Avasele and Tuapa, clearly showed that Tuapa had won. In addition, she consulted other Kilikiki officials, and the matter was further discussed, and a letter from Avasele was also received after that. She said that this was clearly stated during the meeting. Mrs. Kofisi stipulated that the process taken was correct and in accordance with the rules. The decision was made collectively and fair. This latest development has left some disappointed, but Mrs. Dawasi says they will not be taking the matter further, but hopes that in future decisions a fair process will be taken in the spirit of the game. With only 3 more days to go at the 20th Commonwealth Games, Team Niue athletes are nearing the end of their campaign. Yesterday, Day 7 results from some of the athletes in Team Niue revealed. In weightlifting, Vitolia Tawasi lifted a total of 145 kilograms. That was 67 in snatch and 78 in the clean and jerk. Rex Rico Milikitama lifted in the 105 kilo division with a total of 216 kilograms, 91 kilos in snatch and 125 kilos in the clean and jerk. As for lawn bowls, some of the results received in the past day or so. The men's pairs played South Africa, 25 to South Africa and 5 to Niue. Women's pairs saw a tie with Northern Ireland, 18 all. The men's triples played against Namibia with 21 points to Namibia and 9 to Niue. The women's triples had a close game with Jersey, 16 to Jersey and 15 to Niue. They also had a game with Malaysia, 26 to Malaysia, 8 to Niue. In the men's fours versus Kenya, Kenya had 27 and 3 to Niue. Women's fours played Fiji with 19 points to Fiji and 12 to Niue. From athletics, Janam Hopoto placed 10th in his category in the men's discus with a throw of 40.32 meters. That has also been registered as a new national record. In Day 8 of competition, weightlifter Danny Nimani was the last of our lifters to compete up against some tough competition. He managed to lift 145 in snatch and 176 in the clean and jerk with a total of 321, placing him 8th equal with another lifter from Samoa. The gold in this category went to a lifter from Canada who lifted a total of 400 kilograms. Silver was taken by Itete Tanamo of Nauru, and the bronze went to an Australian lifter. Now we wait on the two last athletes in Team Niue to compete in athletics. In the javelin throw, Ikipa Misika is due to compete in the qualifying rounds in Group A at 20 to 8 on the evening of the 1st of August. That is tomorrow morning, Niue time. He is up against 10 other athletes and he will be throwing last. As for Misinia Misika, he'll be throwing in the qualifying rounds in Group B an hour later, also up against 10 other athletes, and he will be the first to throw in his category. So we wish the team well in their final attempts before the closing ceremony in a few days' time, and safe journeys as they make their way back home next week. And those are our news stories that we have here for this evening. We do hope that you can join us again next week. Do have a great weekend ahead, and don't forget to check out the Tamahutonga Village Show Day on Saturday.